All right, hello everyone. Thanks for joining in to today's live session. This is Chris at DecoNetwork, and I'll be the host for today. In this session, we're going to take a look at bug fixes and improvements in the latest release of DecoNetwork 8.505, released just last week. At the end of the session, we'll use whatever time we have left to take any questions that might come up throughout the session. Feel free to put those questions into the chat throughout the process. We also have team members in the chat that will reply to any questions that come up along the way as well. Before we get started, I do want to go ahead and cover the different help channels that we offer for you guys. The main one is over at our Help Center. You can get there through help.deconetwork.com. This is where we have all of our written support articles, links to the videos. Down at the bottom, you have additional support resources, including our feature request section, where you can go in and submit any improvement or new feature requests. We also have our blog where you can stay updated with any news in the system, including updates from our catalog team. And this is also where we have access to the release notes. So let's go ahead and jump in there. Again, just this last week, DecoNetwork has put out 8.505, the latest update, including 257 or over 257 tasks included in this release. Today we're going to go over some of the key highlights and improvements. So let's just run through the list here, see which one we can go ahead and get started on. And I'll go ahead and pull up my test site here where we can show these different enhancements. All right, so we'll just run through the list here. The first improvement is quite a big one, so that'll be kind of the big focus for this this new update, and that's the images on your website now come in through a feature called lazy loading. And what this does is, if we jump onto our products page, with this new feature enabled, images won't load until they have to, essentially. So the benefit here is your page will load faster by not having to load images that it doesn't quite need yet, right? And this is especially useful on mobile devices where you have very limited screen space. And so on a mobile device, you might only see, let's say, 2 products per view, or 4 products depending on your layout. And there's no need to load, the images for all 30 products or 60 products, however many products you've set per listing at once. So now the system will only load images that are in the view that the user is currently seeing. Again, that has the benefit of speeding up your page load times. In addition to that, this new feature also enables the ability to embed high resolution images, which are useful again for mobile devices like iPhone and Android devices, which have high density screens. And so in the past, if you had your thumbnail images set to 300 by 300 pixels, we embedded a 300 by 300 pixel image. This new option allows you to embed a double density image. So when you set your thumbnails to 300 by 300 pixels, we'll embed a 600 by 600 pixel image, again, giving you that full resolution on those high density screens. So let's jump into the backend and take a look at this new option and the different areas that it applies to. So I'm going to click Edit this page on my blank product create page. And there's nothing you need to do to enable this. So this is the default behavior, is this new lazy loading of images. And this new feature applies to any type of listing, whether it's a blank product listing, a decorated product listing, a blank product categories widget, decorated product categories widget, same for design listings. So pretty much any listing. This also applies to any image widget that you may have placed across the site. So if you've gone in and dropped in an image widget from the media section, that will also lazy load. So if you have an image down here at the bottom of your page, it won't load until the user scrolls down to that section of your page. Again, that's the biggest benefit there. You're going to see it on your mobile device visits. Okay, there is one option that we can take a look at. If I go ahead and open up this blank product listing and I jump into the design section, we'll see here there's this new option under the thumbnail size section, use higher resolution on Retina displays. That's the option I was mentioning earlier, where the system will embed a double density image for those devices that have a high resolution display. And there is one bit of note there. This option will see the most benefit on thumbnail sizes up to 300 by 300 pixels. We do allow going all the way up to 400 by 400, but the system is limited to generating product images at 600 by 600 pixels. So at 300 by 300, you still get a double density image. Once you go beyond 300 by 300, you're still capped at that 600 by 600 max size. So that's just something to keep in mind of it. And I think for the majority of users, they keep their thumbnail size around 300 by 300 anyway. So that's where, again, up to there is where you'll see the most benefit. Okay, and let's see, we can go ahead and just kind of simulate this just so you get a better idea of it. If we go on to just preview this as mobile. Again, you can see how on mobile you see much less per screen. And if we do a quick refresh here, it's a little bit hard to show just because the images load in pretty quick with a fast connection. But if we scroll down really fast, you can see for a second there, they were just showing just white. And so they haven't quite yet loaded there until we scroll, and then they come in through, they're downloaded on demand essentially. Okay, so that's the quick preview on this new lazy load feature. Again, kind of dual benefits there. The main one is an improved page load speed, especially on pages that have a lot of widgets, whether it be images, product listings, category listings. This page here, I've got it set up pretty simple. But I know a lot of people, for example, on their homepage, they've got something a lot more dynamic with images on the top, product listings down the middle, maybe latest products down at the bottom, right? So on those very dynamic, high content pages, you'll definitely see a benefit with this new lazy load feature. All right, let's jump down to the next improvement. So campaign sites now have the ability to access the domain settings page in the backend. And this is based on user feedback. So let's see, I don't have a campaign on this particular account, but we can go ahead and just take a look at this option on an affiliate store. So affiliate stores have always had the option to go in and take a look at domain settings, which allows you to assign a custom domain to that given site. This is especially useful if you're working with organizations or brands that have their own domain that they operate, and they may want to assign either that top-level domain or a subdomain to their DecoNetwork store that you're running for them. Campaign sites typically use either the default DecoNetwork store domains, which are Deco Apparel, Deco Printing, or you've also had the ability to add in custom global store domains. And you may have added your own custom domain to this list. So your campaigns could, be mycampaign.myprintingshirts.com or whatever your custom store domain is. But it wasn't possible for a campaign to go in and, just like the affiliate store, say, I want my campaign to have this, custom domain. And so now they have that ability. When you go in to manage a campaign site, you'll see that familiar domain settings option, which will allow you to either add a domain. It's also useful to edit the domain that was chosen during the campaign creation process. So without access to this page, it wasn't possible to edit the domain. which meant if you made a mistake during the campaign creation and you wanted to change that domain, it required you to essentially recreate the campaign from scratch. So this is the other benefit, is that if you do make a mistake, you can go back in and edit that change. All right, let's jump down to the next improvement here. All right, so we now have the ability for products coming in from the DecoNetwork catalogs. They now have the ability to change which brand they're assigned to. So let's jump in and take a look. This is going to be in the admin products section. Let's go ahead and manage one of these Fruit of the Loom products that I've got at the top of my list. And so previously this brand section was just text, right? You could see which brand the item was assigned to, but there was no option to change it to any other brand. And again, this improvement came from user feedback. We have some users who, rather than create products from scratch, they copy an existing product from the DecoNetwork catalog and reuse it for their own purpose, right? And that may be to kind of use it as a jumping off point for a product from a different brand. But the issue with that was that you can actually change what the listed brand was. And this wasn't such an issue some time ago, but with the new product filter widget, for example, where you can filter by brand and you can display the brand image and the brand name, the brand now has the option to kind of come to the forefront. And so, yeah, we've been getting requests for the ability to change the brand on catalog products, and you now have access to do so. All right, so that should help those people out who are, again, copying catalog products and repurposing them for their own items. All right, this next one here, we won't necessarily cover. There's nothing really to show. I'll just give a quick summary here. So the email and order templates that are in the system, which are like your worksheet, your order invoice sheet, those are all code based, and the besides being HTML and CSS, there's some logic here, like if statements or variables that get populated with information from the system, and these all operate using a templating language called Liquid. And so we've upgraded that Liquid language library to a newer version, and the main benefit there is the ability to change a variable, so a bit of data from a string text into a number. And so this is going to be useful for those individuals that are doing heavy customization on their email and order templates. It's going to allow you to take information from the system, which may be output as a string, like let's say a date or a price, and convert that into a number so that you can perform any kind of math operations on it, right? If you need to add or subtract or multiply, anything like that, that should be quite a bit of help. Again, it's going to be super useful for those that are doing heavy customization on those templates. All right, next improvement down the line is a new payment gateway. So for some time, we've already had the Stripe payment gateway available. Let's go ahead and take a look under Settings, Payment Methods, and we'll press Edit here. All right, so again, we've already had Stripe for quite some time, but there are some new kind of regulations coming in. I believe, I'm not sure if just in UK or across Europe. It's this strong customer authentication regulation, and so they're requiring some additional steps, during the payment process that require the customer to authenticate and make sure that they're approving that payment. This Stripe gateway that we've had for some time doesn't support those SEA improvements. And so we've added a new Stripe option called Stripe Checkout, which allows those SCA improvements. And the reason why we've done it as a separate payment rather than just replace the existing Stripe checkout is because these two do operate quite differently. The existing Stripe gateway is what we call an internal embedded payment gateway. And what that means is during the checkout process, when you get to the payment screen, you see the credit card input fields on that payment page, right? So the customer is staying on your site to finalize the checkout process and pay for their order. Versus the new option, it is considered an external checkout option, similar to Braintree, for example. And so the fields don't actually display on the payment page. They display at the end of the checkout process. And so it's similar to the way Braintree has worked since we implemented that. Now, the user won't necessarily leave your site. Both Braintree and Stripe Checkout are hosted external payment gateways. So even though they can't happen inside of the DecoNetwork checkout process, they do happen on the DecoNetwork site. So at the end of the checkout process, your customer will be redirected to a page where they'll see the Stripe checkout fields and be able to finalize their order that way. Okay, again, this is so if you're in one of those regions that has the new SCA requirements, you will need to go into the payment gateway setup and switch to the new Stripe checkout option because it is a completely separate integration. Other than that, it does require additional API keys, whereas the traditional Stripe gateway required only 2. The new one requires 4. So make sure to copy those in from your Stripe admin section. All right, let's take a look here. So there's been quite a bit of improvements, which I think I'll kind of combine. There's a few here throughout the release notes focused on allowing you to change more things through the website page editor, specifically labels of buttons, of sections, so allowing you to customize those more directly through the website page editor so that it doesn't require using custom code to make those types of label changes. So let's go into my site here. Let's jump into the website page editor. And let's jump into the view blank product screen. There's a couple here that we've gotten quite a bit of requests for, specifically the Start Designing button. People have always wanted the ability to change the text on that button. And so we do now have that option. If you click the content widget here on the view blank product page, down on the bottom left is where you'll have those new label options. So the Load Designer button, you could change it, for example, to customize this product. There are quite a bit of other labels that you can change, including on the designer page. Let's go ahead and jump there. All of the different buttons that show on the designer page and allow you to say, for example, add design, add text. All of these can be customized. So here under the buttons section, you can change the label of that button, both on desktop and on mobile. You can also replace the icon. So, for example, this product icon has always been that kind of t-shirt with the focus that most of our customers work with apparel and garments. But there are some customers who don't, right? We have customers that, work on wine labels or promotional products, trophies. And so that icon may not make sense in that scenario. So you can now go in and replace any of these icons, not just the product, but the text, the ad design, the ad team name. All of these can be customized with your own image and with your own labels. So again, this theme kind of continues across the website pages editor and across different pages in the system. So rather than going through each one of these, I would just recommend going through, if you're interested in what all can be customized now, take a look at the release notes, and you can see here there's quite a long list of different labels that can now be adjusted, including the sign up button on the newsletter sign up form, the choose file button on the quote request form widget, the complete your order button on the order confirmation page. So quite a bit of different labels that can now be customized. And we're definitely taking feedback on that. So if there are parts of the system that you would like to be able to customize, but there's no option to customize it, feel free to request those through a support ticket or through the feature request section here on our help center, and we'll see if we can add those to a future version. All right, continuing down the line here. So I think we were just on that page actually, on the blank product page. This new update gives you the ability to share blank products to social media sites. Decorated products have had this option for quite some time now. The ability to share a product to Twitter, to Facebook, to Pinterest, or through email. We just added this option for blank products based on user request. And so let's go ahead and turn that on here for my site. Again, we'll go into the product section and click into the view blank product page. Once we're here, we'll click on the content widget for this page, and down on the bottom left-hand corner, we'll see the option to show the social sharing buttons. And those are going to display on the top right of the page here. Again, you can see we've got an email option, Pinterest, Facebook like and share buttons, and an option to also share that to through Twitter. And so this is, historically the decorated products is where most users have found that, kind of that word of mouth social sharing has helped. But again, we did get quite a bit of requests to add this to blank products as well. So it is now possible to do it here. And it's going to pull in the information from this page. So it'll pull in the product image, the product name, and the product description as the sharing information. Depending on the social service, that will determine what information gets pulled. All right, so now kind of shifting gears over to Business Hub and the back end. Let's take a look at some of the improvements we made in that area. Let me go ahead and open up my Business Hub. So before we actually jump into the Business Hub, we'll take a look at an improvement in the Business Hub, but that is configured through the admin area. For that, we're going to go into the admin settings section and click into production and order settings. And then we'll click into Business Hub order display. So this is an improvement to an existing feature that we've had for quite some time, quite a long time actually, and that's the ability to highlight orders with a color based on their due date or their upcoming due date, right? So this gives you good insight into, we've got unprocessed orders that are, due next week. And so it lets you know what you need to, or you or your team need to be focusing on. And so the way it was done before this update was you would go in and you would set the color that you want to highlight based on the number of days. So let's say more than 15 days, we'll do no color. Once it gets 10, we could give it maybe a yellow highlight. Once it gets 5, orange, and less than 3, that's red, right? That's a critical order. The issue with just having a background color set is that the text was always black. And so based on whichever colors you selected, it may have been difficult to actually see the text here in the orders list. And so in addition to setting the background color, you can now also set the text color. So on a dark color like red, we could go with a white text. Similarly with the orange, we'll go with a white text. And then on yellow, we can go ahead and choose black. And then on our no background, we'll choose black text as well. And you'll notice that lists here in the Business Hub have some links, like the customer name is a link. You've got the view link here on the right-hand side. So we also give you the ability to set a link color. And you could either set that to the same as your text color, or you could also choose a different color entirely. So I'm just going to set these as the text color on my end. All right, let's go ahead and save this change and refresh my Business Hub. Hopefully I've got some orders that are overdue here on my test site. It looks like all of my test orders are way overdue here. And you can see how, even though we've set a dark red background color, we've got white text, so it's still legible. And you could play around with that color. Like for example, for my taste, that red is too bright, so I could come back in here and adjust it maybe to a darker gray, darker red. Let's refresh that. Yeah, so again, it's just a way for you to visualize how urgent an order is. And so now the ability to set both text and link colors makes it so that those are always legible. All right, the next improvement we can take a look at is enhancement to the screen that you see when you're making payments against multiple invoices. There's a new checkbox here in the pop-up that allows you to quickly select all invoices. And so this is really useful if you have customers on terms like net 30, and so you're not getting payment at the time that they're placing the order. And they may have 10, 15 orders that are awaiting payment that they're then going to provide you a check for all 15 of those orders. And so rather than having to go in and manually select each and every of those 15, 20 orders, we added that multiple select option in the make payment option. I'm sorry, make payment pop-up. Let's see here. This one, again, we don't necessarily have anything to show, but I'll give some feedback on this. We do have in DecoNetwork the ability to import products through CSV format. You can do that here from your admin products section. There's an import option here at the top, and you would choose import products. And one of the issues with this import was, this import process was essentially, it's the same process that our own catalog team goes through. And so because for our purpose, the supplier is determined based on which site the products are imported into, we didn't from the start have that supplier field. With this enhancement, we've now added an option to, through your import file, specify which supplier a product should be assigned to. That's something that you always had to do after the fact. So after you imported your products, you need to go back in and set which supplier should be assigned. So you can now specify that through the import file, which should speed up the process of importing products. There are still, obviously some things that you would need to do after the fact. For example, decoration areas may need to be adjusted after an import. Um, yeah, so we're continuing to add things to that import specification so that less and less you need to go back in and make changes to the products after you've imported them. If you are interested in importing products, I would recommend to check out the tutorial session we did one quite some time ago that walks through the entire import process. And so that's a good one to check out if you are interested in importing your own catalog of products. Let's take a look here, going through the list. Okay, yeah, this is a cool one here. The ability to set production statuses through the production tab when you're viewing an order. So let's take a look at my order screen. It doesn't look like I have any orders in production, so let's go ahead and put one in by raising a purchase order for it and receiving that order. Okay, so we've got this order in production, and normally the way you would do this is either through your calendar view or through your list view. You have the ability to click in and set the production status for that item. Here under the order screen, you now have the ability to do it in bulk. So normally this was only kind of like a view, an ability to view which status is assigned, but now you can do an actual assignment. So you can select items and use this new set production status button to specify a new production status for the selected items. And because you can multiple select, right? You could select 10 items across a single order. The system will only display production statuses that are available across your entire selection, right? So if you have an embroidery item and a screen print item, and you have certain statuses that only apply to each process, you'll only see ones that overlap between both items. So keep in mind your selection, and that will determine which production statuses you see when you click that new action. All right, we're almost through the list here, so let's just take a look at these last few ones. This one here is sort of related to those email and order templates that we discussed earlier. This is just a new, essentially a new variable. So for customers, DecoNetwork gives you the ability to specify customer fields through the settings section, customer settings, customer fields. You can add additional fields like, I see a lot of people add like, where did you hear about us? Or, sometimes this is used for like specifying a teacher if, the orders are related to a classroom in a school, things like that. And those are already available through the email and order templates. Where they weren't available is through the email and order templates for the shipping information. So if you've created a new field that collects information for the shipping address, there was no way to display that on the email or order templates. And so this field kind of fills that gap. All right, next we have an improvement to the ShipStation integration. And the change we've made is we've changed the what we specify as the source value when we're sending over orders into ShipStation. This used to be, I think it was either just DecoNetwork for all orders, or it may have been, I think it was actually just DecoNetwork. So the source field was DecoNetwork. And now we've changed it to be the name of the store that the order came through. So if you've got, 30 stores, The source field in ShipStation will show as the name of the store. And this is tied to being able to separate out orders in ShipStation based on which store they were placed through. The benefit there would be, being able to send out different notification based on the store, brand that notification differently through ShipStation. There is a kind of a different process that it's going to require for you to actually do that separation. But the fact that we specify the store name as the source field is going to allow you to go through that process. I don't have access to ShipStation here to go through that process, but that's something that you could actually reach out to ShipStation and they could help you out with the setup of that. Essentially, it requires you to make multiple connections to the same DecoNetwork connection URL. So you would make one connection for store A, and then limit that connection to only import orders from store A. Then you'll make a connection for store B, do the same. So you'll make multiple connections, and each connection would be filtered based on that source field. So only import orders if the source field is Joe's store. Only import orders if the source field is Chris's store, etc. And so that's how you can make multiple connections and have that separation based on store. Let's see here. I don't think we've covered this one. So this is a new option that allows you to hide information. The decorated product page in DecoNetwork has always showed custom fields that may be assigned to the blank product that the decorated product was built on. And we did receive quite a bit of requests for the ability to just hide custom fields altogether. And just to clarify, this option does not allow you to pick and choose which fields you want to hide. It's an option to either hide them all or show them all. And so here, if we take a look at our View Decorated Product page, I can go ahead and click into here. And we've got this option here, Show Custom Fields, which we can now set to no. And when it's set to no, it'll go ahead and just hide those fields from displaying here on the Decorated Product page. Okay, and that would apply across all products. So keep that in mind when making that change. Okay, yeah, this is another Business Hub feature, another cool one that should help quite a bit. Let's jump into the Business Hub here and take a look at an order. And we're going to click into the email history section. Let's see, this doesn't have any email history. Let me go ahead and email this order. So this new feature is the ability to see when an email has been read by a customer. Let's see, let's take a look here. So it's this flag here. It'll show red when the email has been sent out and not yet been read by the customer. It'll show green as soon as that email has been opened. And the way this is done is there's a small image embedded in the email. And when that image gets loaded, which would be when the customer opened up that email, the system tracks that email as having been read. And so this is useful when doing back and forth communication with your customer to understand whether or not they've seen the quote request that you've sent them. And if they haven't, you can always kind of reach out to them and follow up and make sure that that you close that sale. Okay, so let's see. Let's take a look at another order here. So you can see here, this one here was sent a couple times. And so these are ones where the customer has not yet read that email. And so it'll show that red flag when unread, and it'll turn green once the email has been viewed. All right. So one last kind of improvement to show is in the designer, there's now an option to not display the blank product code in the change product pop-up. So previously, when you were in the designer and you clicked change product to browse for another item, the system always displayed the product code. And so the way we've handled this is under the product section, we now listen to this option here. So if you have product code set to show in the designer, that will also influence the change product window. So essentially, the select product window uses the same setting as your designer page. So if you already had it turned off for your designer page, there's no change you need to make. The system now listens to that option the way you've configured it. There's one last change here, which doesn't necessarily have anything to show, but I will mention it because we do get this feedback from time to time. For users that are using the automatic commission payouts through PayPal on a monthly basis, we do sometimes get feedback that those payouts failed, but there's not much insight into tracking why they failed. So we've started recording the transaction ID for each of those commission payouts. In the event that there is a failure, you can use that transaction ID to essentially check with PayPal as to why a given transaction may have failed. In order to do the commission payouts, you do have to have funds in your PayPal account. So there's quite a bit of reasons why the commission payout might fail. But for example, if the receiving account hasn't been verified, so this transaction ID will essentially allow you to check with PayPal and get more details as to why any given payout has failed. All right, so that pretty much covers all of the enhancements some of the key enhancements in this latest release of DecoNetwork 8.505. I would say the main takeaways are, as far as Business Hub, the ability to see when a customer has opened up an email. That's a pretty big one that customers are giving good feedback that the new improvement is there. On the website side, I think it's going to be the customization, the new customizations that we have for different labels and buttons across the system, as well as this new lazy loading is kind of the key feature. Again, the main benefits there being increased page load times, as well as the ability for product listings to show high resolution images on Retina displays like iPhone and Android smartphones. All right, so we do have about 15 minutes left here on the session, and we can go ahead and take that time to go through any questions that you guys might have. I do see one here through the chat. Tournamentware is asking to talk about emails to customers. They're having issues with their emails to their customers going to spam. Yeah, I can definitely discuss that. So this is an area that DecoNetwork has been making improvements on, and it's something that there's no kind of silver bullet for, I would say. Once DecoNetwork sends an email, the receiving email server is the one to determine whether that email gets flagged as spam or not. And there are different things that the sender can do to try and kind of mitigate that. One of the things is to set an SPF record, and this helps slightly, but again, it's not if you set an SPF record, that doesn't mean your emails are never going to go to spam, right? It certainly helps, but it's not kind of a final solution. So DecoNetwork continues to make improvements here. That ability to see if emails have been opened or not is kind of along those lines. So giving you transparency into whether your customer has been able to see a given email. On our end, this update also included, which it's not something covered in the release notes, but we've added an additional layer of email authentication called DCAM. And that's, again, more kind of on the server side, which is why it's not necessarily listed on the release notes. In addition to that, we're also doing more to block spam being sent through DecoNetwork. And that's coming through, through essentially the contact forms, the feedback forms on everyone's websites. There's bots out there that, despite the fact that we now require Google's reCAPTCHA whenever sending communication through those contact forms, they're still able to bypass it, right? And that's a cat and mouse game that Google's always making improvements to that reCAPTCHA to improve it and make it harder to bypass. But again, those bots continue to find ways to get around it. And so on our side, we're improving. We're continuing to make changes, and one of the things we're looking at is kind of a filtering solution. So the ability to not just block interactions through those contact pages, but if those emails, those bots get through and are able to make a submission, we're looking at adding some filtering. And that's still in progress, but yeah, so keep an eye in that area. We're continuing to make changes that will lessen the amount of occasions where emails that you send from DecoNetwork would get classified as spam. And it is going to take time, I would say. The other factor there is kind of email server reputation, which also has to do with individuals who receive DecoNetwork emails marking them as spam, and that affects the reputation of the email sender. And so I would say that the best thing your customer can do when one of your emails goes to their spam box is mark it as not spam and move that into their inbox. Again, that will slowly help to improve the reputation of the DecoNetwork email sender, along with the changes that we're making internally. All right, so thanks for that question, Tournamentware. Let's see, we've got a question here from Fresh Horizons Group. Is there a way to add notes to production? I.e., do XYZ shirt with XYZ vinyl or XYZ settings? Yeah, I would say the best option for that is the internal notes section. So when you're viewing either an order or a production item, here on the right-hand side, you have a section for internal notes. And this can be a way for your team to communicate back and forth. So you as a production manager can add notes to this section here. Your production team member can add notes here for you to see. So this can really be kind of a messaging section where, let's see, let me go ahead and add an internal note here. Right, and so your team will see that note when they open up this job in production, and they can go ahead and reply if they have any note back for you. So definitely, I would say internal notes is the best option for that. Bradley O'Connor is asking, how do I contact the guy to help me set up my site? So I think you're asking about Deco Pro, which is a service that DecoNetwork partners with existing DecoNetwork subscribers who have long-time experience with the system. The best way to get a hold of them is through our website, DecoNetwork.com. When you're there, there's a button at the top for Deco Pro. And at the bottom of that page, so this page kind of summarizes the services that they offer. Down at the bottom, there's a contact form that allows you to submit your information. And this goes to those partners, those DecoPro partners, so that they can reach out to you. The only thing I would mention on that is, they do get pretty busy. And so it could be potentially some time before you hear back from them. But that's still the best option. Go ahead and submit your information if you're interested in services from them. And yeah, you'll be on their list to be reached out to. And they'll definitely help you out with either website setup or website design, as well as setup of your DecoNetwork backend if you need help setting products or setting up your decoration methods, decoration pricing. They're definitely well experienced to help with all those topics. Thanks, Bradley. Another question from Fresh Horizons Group. These are kind of a follow-up to the answer from before. Do these internal notes show up on the printed worksheets? Yes, they do. And I believe it's actually an option. If I go into my email and order templates, and I edit the worksheet. Okay, no, the option that we have is for customer notes. But yeah, internal notes do display on the worksheet if you've added them. Obviously, the only thing there is, you'll have to have added them prior to the worksheet having been printed out. Let's see. Evan Cockshaw is asking about that customer red email flag. Saying they had a customer say they had not yet viewed the email, but the icon was shown green as if the customer had read the email. They mentioned it had gone into their junk mail. Yeah, this is something that can happen depending on the behavior of, for example, an email client that they may be using. Again, the way we're tracking that the email has been read, and really, the only way we can is we're embedding a small image, and kind of invisible image, onto that email, and when that image gets loaded, whenever it gets downloaded, right, whenever that URL that is hosting the image gets requested, that's when we know, this email has been opened. There are some cases where, for example, if the user is using an email client that downloads not just the source of the email, but kind of preloads the email, it may make a request to that URL for the tracking image. So yeah, it's going to kind of depend on the email client that the user is using. Potentially, it could mark that as read when it has not been opened. But I would say for the majority of email clients, especially like the web-based clients, Gmail, things like that, Yahoo, Hotmail, it wouldn't get tracked as opened until the customer actually opens up that email. Let's see here. So Susan's asking, what do DecoPro charge for website setup? I'm not familiar with that information. Again, definitely submit through the DecoPro form. I think it's going to depend based on what you're looking for. Again, I'm not familiar with their pricing, but it would be based on what you're looking for, how complex you want the website, things like that. So it's best for you to have that discussion with them, and they can make the determination as to what your project would cost. Evan with a follow-up question: is there any chance an email can be in junk and showing as read? Yes, that's kind of what I just covered there. Okay. Yeah, so a couple of people mentioning there about similar scenario where it's showing as red when it hasn't been. There's also a comment here from Susan that her emails to her client are going into spam. We did cover that earlier in the session. If you kind of missed it, if you just hopped on, you can always check the recorded session. Again, just to summarize there, we're continually making improvements to the email system to prevent it from emails getting flagged as spam by the receiving server. But there's no silver bullet there, so just kind of hang tight, and we're continuing to make improvements, which should help out there. Luis Malave with a shout out to Deco Pro. Deco Pro are very good. I recommend them. Thanks for that, Luis. Yeah, those guys do great work. So if you need that help, certainly feel free to reach out to them. Oh, sorry, sorry about that. Yeah, I got name wrong here. I read Susan. It's Sazan. Sorry about that. All right. Yeah, those are all the questions that came through. I appreciate all the questions that came up. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. We are just out of time, but again, I want to kind of summarize the different channels that you have for support. If you have any questions that we weren't able to answer, feel free to submit those through our help center. You can submit either a support ticket. You can always also reach out to us via phone. Make sure to check out the additional support resources if you're interested in any of the new features in this new update and want to learn more. Check out the release notes. If you're tuning in and you're not yet a DecoNetwork subscriber, feel free to head over to our website, DecoNetwork.com, and book a tour. One of our client services representatives will walk you through the system and see if DecoNetwork is a good fit for your company, and you can take it from there. All right, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you guys on the next session. Take care.